Show coverage. Mga kasama, bago ho tayo dumako sa may Senado, kaugnay nga po sa nagaganap na hearing sa usapin pa rin ng DZXL, kumuha muna tayo ng iba pa mga balita. Pag-ratipika naman po ng tax reform for acceleration and inclusion o yung tinatawag nilang train sa Kamara, lumabag sa rules ng Kongreso. Makabayan, iaakyat sa Korte Suprema ang paglabag sa proseso. Ang detalye kasama si Radyoman Conde Batak.
Kasamang Rod, posibleng questionin na makabayan sa Kamara pag-ratifika kagabi ng mga kongresista sa Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion o TRAIN. Ay kay ACT Teachers Representative Antonio Tino, posibleng iakyat niya sa Korte Suprema ang umano'y illegal na pag-ratify sa TRAIN. Gate ito niratipikahan ng TRAIN na wala na halos mga kongresista sa plenaryo. Sinabi naman ni Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate na nasa 20 na lamang ang mga kongresista sa plenaryo nang walang kaabog-abog ay niratipikahan ang panukalang tax reform. Nilatahasan ito paglabag sa Rule 10, Section 63 kung saan nakasaad na raratipikahan ang isang panukala ng mayorya ng boto ng mga kongresista na nasa plenaryo. Ibig sabihin, dapat ay may quorum. Wala na nila mga mambabatas pati ang mga leader ng Kamara dahil nagpapakasaya na sa Christmas party ng kanilang partido kagabi habang niraratipikahan ng train na dagdag pahirap sa publiko. Sa ngayon, pinag-aaralan na nila sa makabayan ng petisyon para iakyat ito sa Korte Suprema. Kasama mo sa Kamara, Radyoman Conde Batak ng DZXL 558, Tatak RMN.
Maraming salamat, Radyoman Conde Batak, at mga kasama, update naman po kay Bagyong Ortuha. Nasa linya po natin ngayon si Radyoman May Guyagoy.
Radyoman Road, bagamat bumagal ang galaw ng Tropical Depression Orduha, lumakas naman ang taglay nitong hangin mula sa 55 km per hour kanina alas 8 ng umaga. Ito ay nasa 60 km per hour na sa pinaka-latest update ng Weather Bureau Pag-asa. Mula sa 65 km per hour naman ay may pagbugso na ito ngayon na 80 km per hour na nangangahulugan na magpapaulan ito sa malaking bahagi ng Visayas. Kabilang na rito ang mga reyon sa Bicol, Caraga at Northern Mindanao. At mula naman sa bilis na mula sa dating bilis nito kanina ng alas 8 ng umaga na 10 km per hour, ito naman ay bumagal sa 7 km per hour dahil naman sa naapekto nito ng nangyayaring cold front na bumabalot sa Luzon area. Inaasahan na magla-landfall itong si Tropical Depression Orduha sa may Eastern Samar bukas ng umaga. Magkakaroon ng moderate to heavy na mga pag-ulan, 400 kilometers na diameter nito, itong nabanggit na bagyo. At inaasahan na bukas ay nasa bahagi na ito ng Kinopandan, Eastern Samar. Nananatili naman nakataas ang babala ng bagyo, signal number 1 sa Catanduanes, sa Luzon area, ang Catanduanes, Camarines Sur, Albay, Sorsogon, Masbate at Romblon. Sa Visayas naman, signal number 1 ang Eastern Samar, Northern Samar, Samar, Biliran, Leyte at Southern Leyte. Ang Northern Cebu, kabilang ng Bantayan Island, Capiz, Aklan at Northern Iloilo. Kasama mo sa Pag-asa ang inyong radyoman, Mike Guyagoy ng DZXL 558 Tatak RMN.
Maraming salamat, Radyoman Mike Guyagoy, mga kasama kaugnay sa update kaugnay po kay Bagyong Orduha. At dumiretso po tayo ngayon dyan sa may Senado. Ito naman ay may kinalaman po sa pagdinig sa usapin ng issue sa DZXL. Nandiyan nakaantabay si kasamang Grace Mariano. Grace, go ahead, Grace.
Pakinggan po muna muli natin ang pagdinig ng Committee on Blue Ribbon kaugnay sa controversial na DZXL o anti-dengue vaccine.
Mr. Emmanuel Cedric Flores, Forbes, and Ms. Dina Joy de Amatong, all from the DFA, including the Paris Embassy.
And some of them are members of the PMS in
Yes.
the Office of the President.
Yes.
In studying for this matter before us, Secretary Garin did furnish me with a briefer, and item 6 is on that particular briefer. So I assume that this was conveyed to us at that meeting in Paris on December 1.
Was conveyed.
Yes.
Thomas, you confirm that, right?
My presence, Your Honor?
You confirm that this was stated, what I just read?
Yes, these are public information, but we are part of the scientific publication already at that time. Yes, Your Honor.
You confirm?
Yes.
But they did not say that it should not be given to those who had not yet had dengue?
That is correct, Your Honor, because we didn't have the data at that time.
Sorry?
That is correct, Your Honor, because the safety profile of people who didn't have dengue at that time was positive. So in other words, the efficacy was lower, but still statistically positive, significant. So in other words, if you are seronegative, you benefit still from vaccination with the data at that time, and the safety profile was still positive. There was no problem with the safety profile.
By that time also, Sanofi had already had in production dengue vaccines, right?
In parallel, we were started production of the dengue vaccine in order to prepare for the coming launches, Your Honor.
Just answer the question, yes or no.
I'm sorry, yes, Your Honor.
Yes. You had it already in production, correct? And you're saying here that you had not been given, that you don't have any knowledge that, or they did not say that it should not be given to those who had not yet had dengue. Senator Aquino, do you mind? I'm trying to concentrate. Thank you. So you're already in production, right?
So to clarify the seronegative part again, when you assess a vaccine, you look at efficacy and safety. And in seronegative specifically, the measurement we had was positive efficacy and positive safety. And yes, we were in production in parallel.
Thomas, you're very good. I already said many times that Sanofi is a great company. You're capable of making mistakes, though, all right? And all I'm just saying is, you said this, but did you not say the other half? Which is?
I'm saying there was no other half, Your Honor.
Huh?
I'm saying there was no other half. I am saying now, there was no other half. We were not hiding anything. There was no other half. We were not hiding anything, Your Honor.
And you did not feel that you should say it should not be given to those who had not yet had dengue?
But at that time, again, in seronegatives, patients who didn't have dengue, the safety profile was positive, good.
But at that time, Dr. Halstad and many other experts have already said that there could be a side effect.
We had identified that as a theoretical risk, and we had empirical data showing, which was included in the profile of the vaccine for licensure in 9 and above, showing that the safety and efficacy profile of the 9 and above was positive, Your Honor.
Mr. President, I have to ask some questions that I don't really enjoy asking. I hope you don't mind. You met with Sanofi in China.
That's correct.
In November.
2014.
Who asked you to meet with Sanofi at that time?
May request.
Who got you their appointment?
May request. Sanofi to the DOH. Sanofi, I understand, requested through the DOH for that courtesy call.
Secretary Green
of the APEC.
Did you arrange the appointment, Secretary Green?
Your Honor, the one in Beijing, I was, let me review the records, Your Honor, but I was, I have to look into the dates. I am, based on my personal recollection, I was not aware of such, but I also do not know if there were initial meetings, because when I came as Undersecretary, I remember Secretary Ona having meetings with Sanofi.
No, my question is very simple. You're the Secretary, I felt at that time. Sanofi is a known health provider of drugs that will cure dengue, and that's very, very important to us. Don't you think you should? I cannot believe that you do not know that.
July 21. Sir, the request of Sanofi was dated July 21, 2014. I was not yet Secretary of Health during that time.
But you were representing the Department of Health?
Your Honor, I was not aware of the meeting in Beijing, and I was also not present in Beijing.
But in Paris you were?
Yes, Your Honor.
So,
Your Honor, if I may, when I was Undersecretary, I remember there were 2 meetings that we were requested by Secretary Ona to attend and hear out updates on the dengue vaccine, because as he has mentioned to us the department intends to roll it out in the public by July of 2015. That was his pronouncements in 2015.
Which drug was that?
The dengue vaccine, Your Honor.
Which drug manufacturer?
The dengue vaccine, Your Honor. Because when
So Secretary Ona told you that he was going to roll out dengue vaccine on July 2015.
Yes, Your Honor, and he made a press conference, I think June or July of 2014.
I'm sorry, he's not here, but anyway, we'll find out later. But going back to the question, Mr. President, I mean, I was in the cabinet before, and I would imagine that any president who would be meeting would be given the heads up on who you'd be meeting. And you, during these times, you'd be meeting with several folks, investors, prospective investors, leaders of the government, or different. And I'm sure you get a briefing from these people, from your people. Is that correct, sir?
Normally, that would be the case. But normally, it takes the form of a briefing paper that I read at the beginning of the day before I meet everybody.
So may briefing po. At kung may tanong kayo, tatanungin niyo po, no?
I would, yes. Yeah.
Nung sinabi pong Sanofi, hindi ko kayo nagtanong kung anong pag-uusapan ninyo.
I was informed that this was in relation to this to the stage of development of the vaccine, availability, prospective availability of the vaccine to address the dengue issue.
So, yun ang sinabi sa inyo.
Let me just try to recall all of the instances between 2010 and to this meeting in 2015. So 2010, Secretary Ona tells me that we have this problem, and various interventions were done, but vector control intervention, as the technical term is, does not seem to be sufficient to fully address the problem. He informed me that Sanofi, and there is another company, we're having difficulty finding the name, was also developing another vaccine, but was, anyway, there was another company, but it was behind Sanofi in terms of stage of development. So every follow-up was, where are we already in terms of being able to use this vaccine throughout the time that he served as Secretary of Health from 2010 to 2014.
Did anybody tell you of the record of Sanofi? It's a big company, multi-billion, multi-trillion, perhaps trillion, I don't know, but certainly it's multi-billion dollar or multi-billion euro company. I'm sure we're all aware of that, right?
Well, I've heard of the company. Of course, Dr. Pasteur, I assume, would have been the inspiration for this particular branch.
Yes,
and we
Dr.
studied
Pasteur, rabies, right?
Though am I very knowledgeable about Sanofi Pasteur, perhaps not any more than the
It's a good name to be placed in a company, and I respect the company, just for the record.
But I am no expert on what they're able to do.
Yes, but I mean, my question is simple po na, siyempre po, magtatanong kayo, sasabihan kayo ng kumpanya ninyo, nung kasama ninyo na nakikipag-meeting kayo dito. Ang kausap nyo po doon sa China, sino po ba? So, report ng China.
We just try to pull out the list. Marami pa yata akong China meeting.
DZXL Special Coverage.
We have one.
This is scheduled. Can we provide that at a later time to recover the data? We have basically the schedule of the day.
Of course. Mr. President, the data I read that in the United States on October 2017 on a drug called Menactra, Sanofi was fined $61,500,000. Of course, this is already 2017. I will go before that. Before that, they have had previous records of bribery, of false claims. I'm not trying to put it down. This comes with the territory, I suppose. In 2009, 2007, China accused them of bribery. 2013, an anonymous whistleblower told that Sanofi staff paid around 179,000 pounds or $227,000. And then, were you aware of that, sir?
No, I'm not.
And on May 2009, in the United States, false claims on Aventis Pharmaceutical Incorporated, a wholly owned subsidiary of Sanofi. Aventis violated the False Claims Act by misrepresenting drug prices in order to reduce its Medicaid drug rebate under the Medicaid drug rebate statute. Aventis was required to report to Medicaid the lowest or best price that it is charged. They were fined $95.5 million. You're not aware of that, sir?
No, I'm not.
And nobody made you aware of that. In the Middle East, sir, and East African countries from 2007 to 2012, Sanofi bribed the doctors in Eastern African and Middle Eastern countries to persuade them to prescribe its drugs. The alleged bribes involve gifts and other perks. You're not made aware of that as well?
None of this.
Yes, thank you. Again, in 2012, December, Hyalgan, a knee injection, they were fined $109 million in the United States. Sanofi US violated the False Claims Act by giving physicians free units of Hyalgan in violation of the anti-kickback statute to induce them to purchase and prescribe the product. Were you made aware of this, sir?
Again, same answer.
Again, in Germany, on May 2013, a German court convicted 2 former employees of Sanofi Aventis on bribery charges. An investigation of the former Sanofi found them to have made illicit payments to a consultancy advising one of the drug maker's clients between 2007 and 2010 to win more orders from the client, a pharmaceutical dealer. And they were fined $39 million or 28 million euro in Germany. Were you made aware of that, sir?
Same answer, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And in France in 2014, their own native country, on a drug named Plavix, the French Competition Authority fined Sanofi for discouraging the use of generic competition to its blood thinner Plavix by telling doctors that other generic versions would harm their patients. And they were fined $52.8 million. Were you made aware of this, sir?
No, sir.
In Kenya, on 2014, Sanofi employees made improper payments to doctors in Kenya by handing out perks encouraging doctors to prescribe Sanofi drugs. Sanofi paid for influential medical professionals to attend conferences, many of which were abroad, and gave them cash and gifts at its own events to win business. Again, you were not made aware of this, sir?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. And then for a diabetes drug in 2014, case was filed. An ex-Sanofi paralegal, Diane Ponte, filed a suit claiming that she learned of an alleged scheme at Sanofi to pay more than $30 million in kickbacks to promote the company's diabetes drugs. She alleges Sanofi's scheme involving using customers to prescribe their drugs and or switch from selling similar drugs made by other companies to selling Sanofi medications. You're not made aware of that, sir? Thank you. And then, in September 3, 2015, Serafilm, a surgical device, false claim charge, Genzyme Corporation, a biotech subsidiary of Sanofi, had distributed promotional material for Ceprafilm that implied that Ceprafilm had been proven safe and effective for use in gynecologic cancer surgeries, even though the study was based on 14 patients only. And they were fined $32.5 million. You were not made aware of that, sir? And in France, although this is already November 2016, April 2017 in the United States and the US, October 2017, just for the record, November 2016, Depakine, a brand name for valproate, which is also used to treat bipolar disorder. More than 14,000 women were affected, and it could have affected more than 50,000 people. According to France's national agency, it created birth defects, stillbirths. And between 2,150 and 4,150 children suffered severe malformations linked to the drug. The company has so far made no financial provisions. The French Parliament made or created a nationwide compensation fund and amended the law and created a budget to set aside an initial 10 million euros, $10.7 million for claims relating to Depakine. Another $19.8 million in the U.S. for drugs for veterans, again on a false claim. Another $61.5 million, Menactra, antitrust, Sanofi Pasteur, excuse me. Suppress competition by charging physicians and hospitals up to 35% more for its products unless they agreed to buy Sanofi's pediatric vaccines. They were fined $61.5 million. I just want to point out, sir, without casting aspersion on your character, that when you meet with drug companies like these, and I'm sure Sanofi is not the only culprit, it's been happening, and that's why they have the Lockheed Act in the United States that punishes U.S. companies abroad for engaging in unethical conduct such as bribery and other things. I would imagine that no fault of your own, you were not briefed on your first meeting in China in APEC. Sir?
On the allegations or the charges against Sanofi, both for the China meeting nor even the Paris meeting was I informed of any of this.
Yes, sir.
We also have the list of the name of the person we met in China, if you would like that information now, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, we have that.
Sanofi Senior Vice President in Asia, Jean-Luc Lewinsky, on November 9.
Excuse me, sir. May I ask the media to please just tone your conversation down? We're trying very hard to listen. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Again, Senior Vice President for Sanofi in Asia, Jean-Luc Lewinsky. We met at the social hall of the Philippine Embassy in Beijing, accompanied by Secretaries Ona, Lacerda, and Domingo. This was posted on the official gazette also.
Yes, sir. The presidents are always accompanied by the embassy and by members of the cabinet. The point that I'm trying to make is that there ought to be a certain amount of due diligence. In fact, I would have you know that I was approached by Sanofi, a friend of mine, a mutual friend, I'm sure you know him, I will not mention his name here, if Sanofi could meet me, and I said, I'm sorry, I am not going to meet with them right now. It is unadvisable for me, and it is not timely to do so. Knowing what I've read. And at the same time, when I made the privilege speech, some of my colleagues will recall that the French ambassador just happened to give a call. We did not discuss Sanofi, but I did tell him that I was about to make a privilege speech on Sanofi that day, just for transparency purposes. I'm not saying that I'm total angel, but I'm just saying that with all this signs, I would imagine that the government or Secretary Green ought to have been more careful and circumspect in dealing with Sanofi, considering that they're very, very high-pressure salesmen. Now, let me just go on to that date of 2015 in December. That was followed by a meeting, and I'm sure, sir, you're aware, because cabinet officials will ask permission from the president, magpapaalam po yan, bago pumunta abroad. Totoo po ba yan?
Normally that is the case, but eventually I delegated granting travel authorities to the Executive Secretary.
To Secretary
Ochoa.
Ochoa, yes. And you recall that Secretary Garin went to Paris, initially to Amsterdam, but somehow she went to Paris as well. And she met with Sanofi.
I could not recall that as of now.
I'm just stating a fact. She did, and we asked her that the other day. Is that correct, Secretary Garin?
Your Honor, as I mentioned in the previous hearing, I went to Amsterdam to deal with the problem of arsenic contamination in Pampanga, and then to Belgium for their expertise to help us with that, and then to Paris to meet OECD, and then to Lyon, where I had to ask them if the public-private partnership on vaccine self-sufficiency program, as endorsed to me by my successor, was feasible or not. And then we went to Geneva for the World Health Assembly.
Yes, we're aware of that, and thank you very much. I hope you're well. How was your operation?
I'm okay, Your Honor.
So the appendix was removed already?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And at that meeting, there was, of course, talk about the price, and that there was even a suggestion that Sanofi first offer it to the private sector. Is that correct?
Your Honor, yes. The revelation of the price.
And there was also a suggestion from you that so that you could convince the public easily that they might do it, or companies could be inveigled into making it part of their corporate social responsibility. Na isponsoran nila yung bibigyan ng bakuna yung mga taong mahihirap. Tama po ba yan?
Your Honor, can I briefly expound on that? Unang-una po, Your Honor.
Well, first answer my question.
Your Honor,
yes
when Secretary
no? Yes or no?
Your Honor, ano nga po yung, can you please repeat the specific question you wanted me to answer, yes or no?
I will not repeat the question.
Okay.
I'm willing to stipulate that Secretary Ona, because his name keeps coming back here, but you're now here.
Yes, Your Honor. I will answer your question.
And I'm asking you, when you went to Amsterdam and when you went to Sanofi, you suggested na padaanin mo natin ito sa private sector. Tama po ba yan?
Your Honor, when they presented their price, I learned that ADB and World Bank were vaccinating their employees. At ang sabi ko nga,
No, I did not ask you about ADB. I just want a yes or no answer, please.
Sorry, Your Honor. My apologies. What was the question?
All right.
Sorry, hindi ako masyadong... I can't...
Pakilakasan nyo nga yung sound. Napunta kayo doon at sinabi niyo sa Sanofi, medyo mahal, okay? So, benta muna natin sa private sector. Tama po ba yan?
Yes, Your Honor.
At sinabi niyo pa rin, you were making suggestions kung paano papasok sa Pilipinas. Na pumasok kayo dyan, siguro dapat bigay natin sa mga private sector na mag-i-sponsor. Corporate social responsibility.
Yes, Your Honor, because the DOH at the time didn't have the money.
Correct. That's right. We're aware of that.
But it was identified as
so you really wanted that drug to be brought here. And I don't blame you. Dengue is a miracle drug. Dengue vaccine is a miracle drug. I mean, I would be enthused too if somebody told me there was a cure for dengue or a cure for cancer. So you were very enthusiastic.
Your Honor, it was part of the pipeline of dengue prevention and control. Andudun po siya sa nirelease ng WHO in 2010 to 2012 that to control dengue, vector control, early consultation, estimate the full burden of dengue, and vaccine implementation.
I know the drill, all right?
Yes, Your
Vector
Honor.
control, clean surroundings.
And vaccine implementation.
And vaccine. And the trouble is the vaccine has not been adequate. And certainly, again, I salute Sanofi, 20 years of research. That's a lot of money. I mean, I'm not blaming here anybody. I'm just saying, na ganun yun. We're looking here at how we can avoid this again in the future. All right? At this point, right? Now, when you said that, you were even brought to Lyon or to Noville. Is Noville in Lyon or two different places. I'm sorry, I've not been to that part of France.
Your Honor, I'm not familiar with the other place that you mentioned.
Neuville, the factory in Neuville?
I'm
Sanofi Pasteur, where is this place?
Ang pinuntahan po kasi namin, Your Honor, is medyo probinsya na konti po yung tao.
This one. Ito pong pabrikang ito. Sa Neuville. Yan po sa ilalim, Neuville.
The place we went to, Your Honor, was karamihan po siya lupa lang, and then in the center was
No, you were telling us that they showed you this big company, and you were even saying na dadalhin yung kumpanya rito. And then
yes, Your Honor, but it was...
you went into a statement na sira yung kumpanya rito ng yung vaccine for TB na gawaan dito. Gusto niyong pagawa sa Sanofi. Hindi po ba dinalabi niyo yung nakaraan?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, kaya nga alam na alam ko po yung sinabi niyo, kaya nagre-research
Yan
po kami.
Your Honor, yan po yung pinakita sa amin. And then the water supply, the extensive land around, but I'm really sorry, Your Honor, but I'm not familiar with
the location. All right. But anyway, you were showing the company. It was a big company, right? Big. Sabi mo pa nga, nasa
yes,
bundok.
Your Honor.
Rolling, kabong ganon. Nasa bundok, rolling.
Yes, Your Honor. It's a big company.
Natatandaan ko po lahat yung sinabi nyo. Because, ang laki. Kanyang ganon eh. So, inimbitan nyo pa na gawin yung makina ng vaccine dito. At sabi nyo, madumi ang tubig sa Metro Manila, hindi pwede rito. Dapat sa labas. Mahal naman yan. Do you remember that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. So, having said that, at that time, that was 2015, May. And when we look at the timeline, can I have the timeline, please? Where is it? This one? We have a timeline here, and I'll tell you, we worked until 3:30 last night. No, this is not the timeline. This is the... Yeah.
DZXL
November...
Special coverage.
May 14, 2015, you were there. A private launch and widespread private... and you were asked na kung maglo-launch kayo, you wanted the Sanofi and private sector to launch the vaccine. Garin commented that it would be difficult for DOH to buy vaccines when it is not yet being used in the Philippines. A private launch and widespread private use will create a demand for the vaccine and will thus pave the way for DOH to include in the succeeding year's budget. Di po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Gusto mo talaga may ilagay sa budget. Then again, I don't blame you. Although it indicated to me that there was price discussion already. That you cannot blame me for saying that, right?
Your Honor, that's right. Because even when it was announced that DOH will have it in 2015, the basic question of my predecessor was how much will it cost, and we had to ask them.
Yes, madam. You went on May 15, the following day, to Neuville, and the facility was a big investment, sabi ng one, on the part of the company, as it did not follow the normal model for the launch of a vaccine.
Your Honor,
normally, pharmaceutical companies build industrial facilities only after the licensing and approval of the product. From start to finish of the production process, it would take 18 to 24 months to produce the vaccine, and inventory is not kept.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you may.
I need to correct this statement, which is factually incorrect. So normally, pharmaceutical companies do not build the factories after the licensing of approval in the world of vaccines.
Thomas, kind of speak slowly because your French is terrific.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes. So I just want to correct the part that is in bold in the middle. It's written and it's factually erroneous and wrong. It is written, normally pharmaceutical companies build industrial facilities only after the licensing and approval of product. This statement is factually incorrect in the vaccine industry. Building...
So you can build before approval?
Yes, building a factory...
And in fact, this was the risk that was taken.
This is standard. That's what I'm trying to do. If there's nothing abnormal, I'm trying to explain...
No, I'm not saying it's abnormal.
Here it's written, normally it's after. It's actually always before.
All right.
So this is incorrect.
The opposite is abnormal. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now, on June 9, 2015, after the China visit and after your trip to Beijing, to Paris, and Secretary Garin, did you negotiate with Sanofi to reduce the cost of the vaccines?
Your Honor, I strongly deny that. I did not negotiate with the price, but Sanofi came to the Philippines and presented their proposal to the government. Initially, I was not present in the meeting because I had other commitments, but my directors and I'm not sure if it was Undersecretary Belisario who was present that time. So I came last in the meeting.
Did you?
But I made a joke, Your Honor. I made a joke because it was already at the end of the meeting. I said, just update me. And I made a joke and I said, sana po, buy one, take one yan. If the private buys one, give one to the government. But I never negotiated for the price because we didn't have money.
All right, but you were talking about the price. But on January 3, 2016, were you not interviewed by Karen Davila?
What's the date, Your Honor?
January 3, 2016.
Yeah. I remember giving an interview with ANC, and during the time, during the time, there was already a SARO released as requested by the program directors of the Department of Health, and we said that there will be a rollout. If in case there would have been problems, then it was easy for the Department of Health to cancel such.
Let me put on the brakes for a while because I'm asking the questions, and just answer my questions, please.
Yes, sir.
You had that interview and you said a 34% discount was offered by Sanofi.
Yes, Your Honor, because the initial price was a lot different from the price that was shown to me when we had to request funding from DBM.
Right. So there was talk of pricing already.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then on October 29, 2015, Sanofi Pasteur submitted to the Pharmaceutical Division the application to include the dengue vaccine in the Philippine National Formulary, pending the certificate of product registration issuance of FDA as the vaccine is prioritized by the current administration. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's a priority disease.
What is your name again?
I'm Dr. Melissa Guerrero, sir. Sir,
Dr. Guerrero, you were with the formulary.
We were acting as the secretary.
So you confirmed that, October 29.
Sir. We received the dossier from Sanofi.
Yes, thank you. And on December 1, 2015, Mr. President, you went to Paris, and together with the DOH Secretary General during this time went to Paris for the UN Conference on Climate Change. If we do not stop talking there, I will throw you out of this office, of this chamber. I'm sorry. This is a Senate investigation and it's very, very difficult to follow through. During the visit, President Aquino received Sanofi Pasteur officials at the Hotel Scribe. Based on the notes of Philippine ambassador to France, Secretary Green said that there is now a faster FDA approval process in the Philippines. Normally, it would take 2 to 3 years for licensing approval, but this was reduced to 500 days and now 1 year. Is that correct? Sabi niyo sa kanila, ngayon mabilis na. Hindi na 2 hanggang 3 taon ang approval process. At ngayon, naging 500 days na lamang. At ngayon, 1 taon na lamang. Yes, please.
Your Honor, can I request a copy of the FDA, the DFA notes?
Can you?
But precise for me, Your Honor, to state that
But
when
do you remember that?
Your Honor, that's why I want to see a copy of the DFA notes. Precise for me to say that when I assumed as Secretary of Health, one of the major complaints I received, and this was confirmed by DG Puno, there were a lot of complaints as to the long timeline in the FDA in terms of approval and permits, including the backlog in the legal office.
Every president has said they want to short or remove red tape. We're aware of that.
Yes, Your
That's
Honor.
good.
And
But on the matter of medicine, I don't know kung mabibilisan yan, pero I mean, if you must make haste, according to Napoleon Bonaparte, you must make haste slowly.
Your Honor, what I showed as a fast tracking of the process is not on medicines alone, but it's for all the system, yung legal backlog, yung mga kasong ilang taon na hindi nare-resolve.
So sinasabi niyo talaga, tama naman yun eh.
And the
Bawasan ng
cosmetics
oras
and
ang
food, Your
pag-application,
Honor.
di ba? What is the application process now?
Actually, sir, we've categorized it. Okay, since we're talking about Dengvaxia, this is an innovator drug. It's an investigational new drug. So this includes a longer processing time, that unlike the new drug applications or yung mga usual na gamot like paracetamol, no, na matagal na hong proven sa market, more than 20 years na. Ito po, tatagal ho ito mga 2 years, 3 years, ganun po.
Tatagal yan?
Opo.
So why would you say that, ma'am?
Your Honor, can we request Director Lulu Santiago to answer, because she was the FDA director during that time.
And I'm asking you because this statement is attributed to you.
That's why, Your Honor, unang-una po, pahingi po ng minutes ng DFA.
Bibigyan kayo ng kote
And
po.
yung sinasabi po ni Ma'am Sherade Puno na ganun po katagal, iba naman po kasi ang sinasabi ng FDA sa akin nung panahon namin, because the licensing involved not only Philippines but 11 countries.
Okay, while we're waiting for that, I don't want to...
And it was, I believe, an innovation not only in the Philippines but all over the world for a rolling submission. Kasi hindi naman po buo yung pag-submit ng papeles, so ini-evaluate na on a piecemeal process. Your Honor, for the record lang po, pasensya na po talaga, but just for dengue vaccine, before it was approved, although we were not involved, I asked the program directors at yung mga eksperto nga sa DOH, meron na po bang naka-approve nito? And we were told about, I'm not sure if it was Brazil or Mexico. Why do we rely so much on Brazil and Mexico? Because their FDA, unlike the FDA in the Philippines, are WHO accredited regulatory agencies. Hindi po sila paper review like what we do.
Ma'am, with all due respect, I would like to go on asking the questions because we all know all about that already. But I will just say this now. On the final result of the vaccine, Mr. Leroy mentioned, among others, that it works better with populations who have already contracted. I asked about that. And of course, there was a statement, Mr. President, it's not mine, it was attributed to you. I just quoted it. I'm not lifting it out of context, and I'm just asking, I'm sure, if I were president, I would be excited kung talaga may darating na vaccine. Ano po? Yun ang sinabi dito, you were excited about the dengue vaccine.
I was
thrilled.
Let me just try. In what context was this supposed to be?
Hindi ko alam eh. Yun ang nakalagay ko doon sa notes.
Well, the bottom line is, August 23, 2010, there's a problem. There is no complete solution that is afforded. And there is a potential solution somewhere on the horizon. And now they're saying that this potential on the horizon is an actuality. Yes, I believe I would have said something like I was excited.
Tama po yan. I too would be excited. I mean, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just stating the fact here. Because as far as I'm concerned, your body language, kumisan, having met with Sanofi twice, dalawang beses kayo nagpag-meeting, tapos sabi nung embassy, excited kayo, baka ang take na Secretary Garin at ng ibang official, ay okay si Presidente, bilisan na natin ito. Yun lang ang aking kuro-kuro.
Baka lagyan natin ng facts, Mr. Chairman. I did instruct Secretary Garin and others to make sure that if this is really available, if it has gone through all of the processes, that we can actually purchase it, that there are funds available for it to be purchased so that we can protect the people as soon as possible.
Yes, sir, I'm sure you did that. Knowing you, I'm sure you did that. You instructed her to make sure that funds available, and if it is really good, we should buy it. And words to that effect. Ano po? On December 10, 2015, Dr. Joyce Ducusin recalled that on December 10, 2015, the Secretary of Health asked the EPI to submit a proposal worth 5.5 billion for the funding of vaccine procurement. Ano po ba ibig sabihin ng EPI? Hindi po ba yun yung
Your Honor, it's the expanded program on immunization.
Gusto ko kayo magsabi. Ayoko magsabi, baka magkamali ako. Expanded program for immunization. So, dahil magtatapos ang taon, mayroong mga pera, naghahanap kayo ng paglalagyan ng pera. Tama po ba yan, Ms. Joyce Ducusin?
Yes, sir. It was in the FEC documentation dated January 7, 2016.
Apo. Meron kaming December 10 dito. Ano po? The EPI proposed for the funding of the following vaccines. PCV worth 800 million. HPV. Can some people help me out here? PCV is polio?
Human papilloma virus is the PCV is pneumococcal conjugate vaccine for pneumonia.
800 million. HPV.
Human papilloma virus for cervical cancer, Your Honor.
Cervical cancer. JEV.
Japanese encephalitis vaccine for Japanese.
And we just said that about 4 months ago or 5 months ago in Pampanga. Secretary Garin submitted the proposal to DBM for Health Facilities Enhancement Program, HFEP, funding and procurement of 3 million doses of dengue vaccine. Tama po ba yan?
Your Honor, can I make a clarification?
Of course.
On the previous slide, it says that EPI submitted. Can we go to the previous slide, please? Okay. 4 vaccines were submitted. After the submission, there was a coordination with the program directors. Meron pong mga qualifiers na pinapasubmit. Yung unang-una po yung sa PCV, narilisan po kasi, I'm not sure if it's 1.5 or 1.7 billion, nabigyan po ang Department of Health. So ang una pong tinanong sa amin, nagamit nyo na ba yung 1.7 or 1.5 billion na binigay dati? At I think during that time, hindi po ako sigurado, we will review our records, binibili po during that time.
So yan nga ho yung pagpipilian, di po ba?
Ang ibig kong sabihin, Your Honor...
Sagutin niyo muna yung tanong.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yan ang pagpipilian.
Yes, Your Honor.
4. Huh?
Yes, Your Honor.
Dahil meron na tayong siyam. Di ba meron tayong siyam?
Meron. Hindi, nabili na kasi, sir, yung PCV.
Rubella, polio.
The vaccines, Your Honor, is BCG. Yan po yung para sa TB. And then we have hepatitis. And then meron po tayo nung pentavalent. 5 po yun. We have diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, and Hib.
Okay.
And HEPA.
Sige
and
po.
then meron tayong measles, and then measles, mumps, and rubella.
Of course, kasama niyan yung construction ng rural health units and barangay health stations, equipping BHS, RHUs, and urban health centers for field health accreditation, purchase of 162 mobile dental units. Kasama yan sa sinabit niya. This is 5.5 billion. Ano po? On December 11, 2015, Dr. Mariano Baquilod, OIC, Disease Prevention and Control Bureau. Andito ba siya? Hindi ba niyo inimbita? Saan? Nasaan na ron? Eh, andyan pala kayo eh. Makita naman kayo dito. Ano po? Para makita namin ang ganda ng lalaki ninyo. Naka-asul pa kayo. Sige po. Submitted justification of the procurement of dengue vaccine under the National Dengue Prevention and Control Program. For the first time, a provisional exemption for 1 year will be given in February 1, 2016. May I ask the formularyo kung tama yan? Binigyan nyo na exemption sa formularyo yung dengue vaccine.
Sir, the letter of recommendation regarding the exemption was sent to the Secretary of Health on February 1, sir.
February 1.
Because it will be the Secretary of Health. We are only recommendatory, sir.
Yeah, you recommended.
Yes, sir, with 8 different conditions.
What was your recommendation with 8 conditions?
We recommended exemption, sir, with 8 different conditions.
And the conditions include?
It included, sir, phased implementation, as well as staged procurement, sir. Those were some of the conditions. Do you want us to spell out each of the conditions?
We have a copy.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Right, I just wanted to make sure,
yes, sir,
that we're talking about the same thing, and this is part of the evidence here.
Yes, sir.
And this was received, certified true copy by John Irving Telingban. Now,
Your Honor.
Yes.
During the time of Secretary Ubial, she formed a team to look into the timeline, and it was released as an Integrity Management Committee report. Doon po kasi sa Leon, ando doon po yung lahat ng dokumento and all the timelines that was done during her incumbency. If I may, Your Honor, may I request that that timeline be followed? Kasi meron pong ibang walan dyan na nando doon po.
Kukunin ko po yun at bubuhin ko po yun sa report.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I will assure you that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Wala pa po tayo sinasabing ano dito. Sinasabi ko lang yung time para malinawan ng lahat. So, on December 21, 2015, meeting regarding declaration of savings to augment items of appropriations for various urgent projects. A cabinet meeting, ano po? Secretary Abad?
The date is, was it the date 21st, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. Cabinet meeting po yun.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Yes. On December 22, 2015, the Food and Drug Administration approved the marketing of the dengue tetravalent vaccine, Dengvaxia. FDA issued a certificate of product registration na pwede nang gamitin ng private sector yan. Ano po?
That's correct, Your Honor. Your Honor, may I be allowed to clarify some of the items?
Please.
With regards to the investigational new drug, as mentioned, with due respect to our Director General Uno, there is no IND designation yet here in the Philippines.
Ano yung IND?
Investigational new drug. The Dengvaxia is actually a new drug application. And under the existing FDA Citizens Charter, it should be processed in 254 days.
254 days. New drug yan?
New drug, sir, yeah.
Okay.
But there's no distinction yet, Your Honor.
Yeah,
and normally, sir, Go ahead. And normally, sir, in my experience, for new drugs, especially if it is considered as medical breakthrough, a major medical breakthrough, it would be processed earlier. There are some drugs that has been processed in 6 months' time, like for example, bedaquiline intended to cure TB. And there is another monoclonal antibody. We call the brand name is Keytruda. Generic name is pembrolizumab, intended for non-small cell lung cancer. It's processed in 6 months to 7 months' time. There are even drugs that are processed shorter than Dengvaxia.
So you're trying to convince us, or trying to impress upon us, that you can make it faster if you want to, if it's a breakthrough drug.
That's one
what
of
you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor. That's one of the criteria whenever we facilitate a product.
I know that's one of the criteria, but you still have to be extremely careful.
You're still watching the Senate hearing on the Dengvaxia controversy. Right now, Senator Richard Gordon of the Blue Ribbon Committee questioning officials of the Food and Drug
DZXL Special Coverage.
That portion was brought to you by Kala Detergent Floral Fresh. Kahit madaming labada, ang fresh mo, girl.
Magandang hapon, girls! Si Jody ulit. Habang may araw pa, magsampay muna ng labada. Huwag ma-stress, mga bes! Mag-Kala Detergent. May light and fresh fragrance that lasts all day para ang fresh mo, girl! Kala Detergent Floral Fresh.
Dahil may light and fresh na bango, feeling presko ka with Kala Detergent Floral Fresh.
Amoy na amoy ang bango ngayong Pasko with Surf at sa regalong hatid ng RMN Big Christmas